Hello Home Power Tribe, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for visiting my video again. We are past the month of May, Mental Health Awareness Month, and this month we are going into the topic of woman inclusivity. And I want to share with you the definition of being inclusive in terms of woman. The definition of female inclusion. Gender inclusion is a concept that transcends mere equality. It's the notion that all services, opportunities, and establishments are open to all people and that male and female stereotypes do not define societal roles and expectations. And I think that there's a lot of competition out there between women to get to the top. Obviously, women remain significantly underrepresented, especially women of color in the workplace. And so there is a strong competition. And so the series that I'm going into when comes to the topic of women inclusion is really specific to woman to woman. I think that there is a lot of bullying happening out there. There's a lot of criticism, gossip, uh, especially when it comes to women. But I believe that we are all on the same team and we shouldn't exclude other women and we shouldn't be mean to other women. And sometimes I think that happens without ourselves realizing that we have some preconceived of other people. And so this series on women inclusion is really about how we can get to know our female counterparts better, build better friendships, and to empower one another to better things instead of working against one another through hurting each other through words, social media, and different things. There is a quote that I wanted to share. It's from Audre Lorde. When I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in the service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I am afraid. And I think that sometimes when it comes to, bullying or just not being nice in terms of including other women, it's because we are jealous or we are fearful that they might shine more than we do. I think a lot stems from jealousy and insecurity because a lot, unfortunately, I think that the society today really defines how we perceive women to be. And we are not really authentic to who we truly are. And I don't think that the societal normal defines every single woman. I think every one of us are unique in our own ways, and so when we are in the mindset of we have to look like this, superficial picture that is being portrayed, and if someone kind of falls short in terms of their appearance or the things that maybe they appreciate or value, which is different from ours and from us, we tend to be a little bit more critical of them and maybe exclude them by not even taking the time to listen and appreciate where they're coming from. I did share a post yesterday around, the more that we can include others, the more valuable we become. And for this, women inclusion series, I like to really talk a little bit more around the background of, maybe opening up our perspective around how different issues can come into the picture in terms of how we become critical or we are closed off to accepting and including other women because of several different issues or differences in terms of values and opinion. But that doesn't mean that they are wrong or they are right. I think everybody has the right to their own perspective. And so in this series, we're going to cover some basic kind of topics that is very common. One being about bullying. I think bullying in social media is like all over the place. I mean, I have my YouTube video and I do have, people who are not so nice that leave their comments because they might not like what I'm sharing and different things. And I think people don't realize that those comments can be very hurtful to others and they're just doing it because they feel like it, but they don't realize that the repercussions that little one one sentence could do to a person. And so we're going to dive into the psychology of bullying, why people do that, or maybe they don't even realize that they're doing it, and the kind of some of the way to identify, and also how to speak up for yourself. The other thing that I think is a big issue is around like parenting values. I think everybody parent their kids differently, especially when it comes to mothers. I think we're very protective over how we take care of our family, and sometimes parenting can be a big source of angst among other women. And we want to dive into that, maybe accepting and be open to other people's parenting values instead of closing it off and not being inclusive. How can we be more open to the perspective of others when it comes to parenting? The other topic that we want to talk about is body shaming. Obviously, the society has created this picture of how women should be. And so if, maybe you don't have the smoothest long hair, or you don't have the slimmest of body, and then all of a sudden you are not including them because they are like not part of your crowd or whatever. So I think body shaming is a very good topic to talk about, because sometimes we don't realize that we are not including others because of what we define as body perfect, or whatever, if you want to call it that. Another topic I want to talk about is culture and religion. Obviously, more and more with social media and the internet, that we come across people from all parts of the world, and everybody has their own culture, religion, background, and that kind of affects how they see the world. So how can we be more inclusive of other people's culture when it might seem foreign to us? So that's the other topic that we want to talk about. I just wanted to do this intro video for female inclusion. That way you know what to expect down the road. But before I go, I want to give you 3 basic tips in terms of what you can do when talking about diversity in others. My hope of creating this video is that we are more open to people's ideas and be more inclusive to other people's opinion and background, and if even if they seem just strange or they just don't match what we believe in. I think that we should empower women by including them, and I think if you do not believe in their values or whatever, that's completely fine. But I think that being inclusive, it allows you to expand your role and to kind of know what really is out there, not just your values, your perception, your ideas, but also the different thoughts that is around the world. So the 3 rules. Rule number 1, there is no one right way to talk about this. And I know, race or religion or culture or politics, those are very sensitive topics. There really isn't a right place, right time. I think that there is a right time if you want to be more appropriate when bringing this up. But I think that it's good to pick the right time for when people are more receptive to have those sensitive conversations. Rule number 2, there is no single best way to describe a dimension like gender, race, ethnicity, or disability. I remember someone came up to me once and said, you Asian people look all the same. But really, do we look all the same? I really don't think so. But it might sound very offensive, and it does sound offensive, but I think that sometimes when we let our guard down and be less defensive and be more open to explaining, we allow people the opportunity to learn from us, right? So if I were to be shut down, defensive, and say, why are you that way? Why you say all Asian people look the same? Then there isn't an opportunity to really kind of share with them, like, although in your opinion all Asian people look the same, but there's differences in terms of your features depending on where you come from in Asia. So I think that if we are less defensive around how people bring something up, we allow ourselves the opportunity to teach others and to expand their world. Rule number 3, have good intentions and avoid rude terms when speaking with others. So I think a conversation is a two-way street, right? It depends on how you deliver it, and it also depends on how you receive it. So what I just described earlier is how I receive it, because I think that sometimes people are not very tactful, and maybe they don't really know like the proper way to say something without being offensive. But if we are more open to receiving the message without being defensive, we allow people to share, we allow others to have an opportunity to learn about our background and our perspective. But on the other hand too, if you are someone that is more sensitive with your words, maybe think about your questions before it blurts out of your mouth. It might come off a little bit careless. I think it might open doors for people to be a little bit more receptive to your questions, because you don't want to be turned off by someone's rude question. And I think that sometimes things happen, and in the moment when you're curious, you just blurt out a question that might be offensive to others without meaning it. So I think the best is really just set your intentions, to let them know that, I don't mean to be rude, but is this how you say this? Or I don't mean to be rude, but is whatever question you have. I'm going to leave you with that thought, ladies. Hopefully you are tuning in to the start of my series. This is just an introduction of what I'm about to talk about in terms of Women Inclusion Month, and hopefully you learned something. And my hope is that you take the stuff that you learn with you to go out there, to share with the world, and to be curious about people's background, and to expand your world too as well. Well, you have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you. Bye.